All righty. We're gonna call to order the Shoreline Task Force regular meeting for May 31st. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, do we have any public comments from the gallery? Nope. Any public comments from staff?
Just that a reminder that we will have a joint City Council Shoreline Task Force workshop tomorrow at 4 p.m. to discuss parking and boat trailer along Gulf Boulevard.
Thank you for that. Any public comments from the committee? Okay. We'll move on to our regular agenda. Discussion action to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on May 10th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion
I second for the minutes.
to approve the minutes.
Okay, there you go. All right, there you go. All right. Okay. Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All opposed? All right.
Abstained. I wasn't here.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Discussion action to select primary and secondary preliminary designs for Laguna Madre living shoreline. Take it away, girls.
Okay, let's see if I can. Do you mind pulling up the PowerPoint,
Oh,
please?
she's got it.
Thank you. Let's see if I can
remote
click
control
it.
now.
I know.
Wow.
We are just all high tech. And I'm going to sit here and it's not going to work and I'm going to have to go over there. So let's see. Oh, it works. Never mind. That's fine. All right. So last week, you all got to meet with HDR, and they really gave you, not last week, last meeting, excuse me. You got to meet with HDR and go over some possible designs that are coming forward. So today, what we would like you to do is select 2 designs you'd like to move forward with so they can start really giving full engineering drop and designs on those, and we can move forward with one or the other. They're kind of going to mock up both to the best of their abilities so we can have a better idea of what those fully functioning living shorelines would be, or reef placements, whatever you all decide to go with. And then we can narrow down from there and pick one that we're actually going to go with. So we're just going to skim through, go over what they talked about last time. If y'all have any questions or ideas to brainstorm, feel free to stop me. So here are the things we are looking at. Bunch of data, very exciting. Okay, so one of the first objects that they gave were these reef systems, all the way from reef makers, which sit so high above the water line. They do not transpose up and down. They are solid. They sit wherever they are set at. You've got a full breakwater, and then you've got the reef balls, and these are the most minimum impact, obviously not the breakwater, but the reef systems will give you the smallest amount of seagrass impact just because of their footprint. Here you go. Here's a little mock-up of what they would look like, submerged, placed in the water, kind of the groin-looking encompassing area. You got boat or inlet. That's kind of the first idea or design for you.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I don't know if this was before I got on the committee or what, but what is the reason to put this in this location? Has there been some shoreline loss, or why are we doing this?
So the idea is to actually run it the entire length of the Tompkins Channel to give payside protection. All we have is riprap or bulkheads that are actually washing away underneath themselves at the moment. So you either have to backfill or continuously build them down deeper, but you just come to this never-ending vortices that eat out underneath and wash out. It's just combative erosion. So the idea is to build in this living shoreline to give a better chance of protection and fight against storm surge if we ever had a direct hit from a hurricane or coming around our bay side.
I think in one of your first slideshow images, you did have an image of some existing damage or some damage that was documented? Was that from our shoreline?
I am not sure, but we can go back.
I-
We can look at it.
I don't believe it was actually from our shoreline.
It wasn't?
No. As far, I know what you're talking about, but I think that was from somewhere else. It was just an example of coastline erosion. I mean, I think
Ours, right?
if I'm right on this, I mean, almost the entire bayside is bulkheaded.
Most of it, yes.
There's some very small parts that aren't. But this is an effort to also keep from the silting in of the Tompkins Channel as well. So that's why we're addressing this, and to have a living shoreline that is as natural as possible as far as breakwaters go to keep that stuff in check. Because I mean, there are definitely bulkheads along the bayside that need repair, and we're trying to minimize that damage. So.
I hope that answers your question. Is that
Thank you.
okay? All right, so let's go ahead, move on. So we've got that one. More info on that. Next one, intertidal berm placement. The idea goes from oyster shell hash that would be placed, and then you can berm and plant on top of that, all the way to sand and clay berms. Very more marsh-like setting. These wouldn't be bracketed in. The later designs have brackets that hold the berms in place. They're just meant to be like a gray-green mix. This is just pure green, I would say, in layman's terms. So this is what you'd be looking at there, a series of interchanging berms. You still have butter inlets, same kind of thing, but you've got, max elevation of 1 foot, give or take in certain areas on these little islands that would be deposited. And it would look like this to start with, but it would slope itself out over time and wouldn't be that wide. And then we've got kind of living breakwater or containment cells, which are these. This is just the front end protected. This would give you kind of a riprap or fill material in the front, and then give you the marshland behind it. Same thing, except now you've got a double barrier, so it's kind of a more set-in structured. And those are really it. Here's kind of the array of what the cost would be from the artificial reef all the way up to a full containment cell versus just the breakwater cell, and then the intertidal berms, so you all can think about that. But we are looking for possible primary and secondary design choice today that we can pass along to our engineers so they can start mocking those up.
Do we have a budget?
That was my first question.
Sorry, I took it away.
No, let's go for
I
it.
mean,
Yes, everything has a budget. Okay, but NIFWIF, who we have been going through, this is actually a pipeline project now. We are applying for our second phase of funding through this, which is great. They have been awarded a heavy amount of funds over the last few years, and they were luckily awarded heavy amount of funds again this year, and I don't know if that'll be true in the following years. But right now, they're awarding construction projects up to $10 million. No match, low match, things like that. And we would look at implementing this shoreline segmented. It would be phased. It would not be all done at once. So it would have to be something that would be grant funded and ready available. But that's something we're going to look at in 2 to 3, 4, 5 years, because we would have to have full funding and permitting, full permitting and design first before we.
for the whole Tompkins or just the section that we're looking at now?
We would probably design the section we're looking at now, first priority, so we can start going out for funding initially, but design the whole thing and do full permitting and get funding as we step up.
Do we have a sand source?
Do we have a sand source? It could be clay material from Tompkins. It doesn't have to be sand necessarily. Sediment in the area.
I mean, I'm just thinking, our list is off our last meeting. My and this is just me talking out loud. My primary preferred thing would be intertidal berm, just because it's the most not natural, but it's the most soft thing we could possibly do, right? And then I would go with the one-sided containment cell. We also talked about a full containment cell, but it wasn't on the slideshow right now. But my issue is on both of them. So if we just had the intertidal berm, that would be basically a spoil bank in front of the channel, right? If we had the one-sided containment cell, we would have a hardened structure on one side and then soft material on the other side, like clay or sand or whatever it is. I would like to see or know if the tides going in and out of the bay, especially along that channel, because the tides, the currents can go pretty heavy depending on how the tide goes. Is that going to erode back out to just where we just have a concrete barrier or whatever else and wash out the soft side on that one side? That's my things, but I would rank those 1 and 2 as far as intertidal berm and then the one-sided containment cell.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I will forward that to our engineers and
But
ask them that
obviously, it's open
question.
for discussion for everybody, so.
I don't understand how, but maybe they can explain on either that or the artificial reef. How are the boats, once it's stretched all, or even just in the section, boats are usually, when fishermen go out, they usually go straight ahead because there's nothing impeding them once they take off. And then how are we going to have lights, or how are we going to be able to, in the berm one, how are we going to mark those off?
Yeah, they said in the presentation that, no matter what we put out there, they're going to have to put up navigation lights on those structures.
That's
There'll
correct.
be a lot of navigation lights.
There will be markers of some degree.
And will any of the channel need to be closed down for boat traffic while this is happening?
It's actually going to be built outside the channel, so I don't think the channel itself would ever have to be shut down or reallocated.
Okay.
Anybody else got a ranking system here?
It's a really hard decision to try to rank them.
I know it's hard to rank them, but if we rank them, at least if we have 1 and 2, we can see what the benefits of 1 and 2 are, and then we can go from there.
The ones that you ranked as 1 and 2, did those fall in line with the smallest footprint to the seagrass?
The one-sided cell does. The intertidal does not. But the intertidal also encompasses being able to plant plants below the water line and have them. You would have the most I guess habitat growth. Yeah.
Can you pull up the 2 that Rob is talking about?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying by any means we should go with this. I'm just saying.
May I have the presentation again, please? Okay, so this is the double containment cell, but this is the single. So Rob's right, you'd have a breakwater sort of on your eastern boundary, and then you'd have fill on your western boundary. Or, excuse me, vice versa.
Yeah.
And then with your intertidal berm, this is what you're looking at here.
Can we go back a little bit? I'm not following you when you're going through. So your breakwater is the gray triangular structure sticking up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And behind it is?
Would be fill, sediment, clay, dirt. Yes.
To help with the resolving?
It was to mitigate wave energy impact, and it also gives you a mitigation area for any damages to seagrass and planting, so you can still have habitat and ecosystem behind it.
How How much does it stick up above sea level?
So the top of it is 3.5 feet from the base of sea level. And so it sticks up 2 feet, I think, from what the drawing is, from the upland marsh line. So maybe 1.5 feet.
And this is the one that Rob had the question about the erosion that could potentially happen there?
It's set how far off from the channel? How far west?
We're going to figure that out later.
Yes. Great question. I'm going to write it down.
I'm just asking a question. I mean,
That's good.
I'd like to know what you think now.
I do not know personally.
Well, that's fine too. You don't know. Are we talking about 10 feet, 20 feet?
I
Is
mean,
an idea?
yeah, I mean, just by looking at the slide that H&R gave us, I mean, they have one of the corners going into the channel. So I think that was just a preliminary thing, but yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a good question to have, how far is it going to be from the channel? Do we have any kind of estimate on that?
I do not, but I will ask them and I can get a full update when we come back next time and we see you guys.
What do you guys think about these options? I mean, that's kind of what I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would be curious of your professional input here as well.
We definitely, the less impact, the better. Absolutely. Reef balls, that's great because they're very plug and play, but to us, that's not really what we're going for here. We are looking at a full shoreline versus just a wave break, which those would be more so of. So really any of the living shoreline structures would be our preference.
Not what we're looking at now.
No, what are we looking at? So the non-encompassed, the forward-facing, or the fully encompassed cells would all be viable options.
Can you show Stormy the picture of the reef balls again?
So here you go. The reef
balls
balls
are right here on the right.
Yeah, they're on the far right there.
So do you like that or you don't like it?
We definitely can do whatever you all would like. I think a living shoreline is more appropriate for what we are looking for, but it really truly is up to you all. So
I agree. So my question was, do you like that or do you not like that?
Those are great. We're really trying to go for more green infrastructure and really incorporate a living shoreline that's not only beneficial towards, preventing wave attenuation or, attenuating waves or reducing the erosion, but creating habitat along our bayside as well. So that would be not the option that we would pick.
it would be our 4.
What I've read, from what I've read and been in presentations for on reef balls, they're great for offshore stuff, for creating habitat. They're not very good at breakwater stuff, is what I'm getting. And since our bay, especially at that point, is less than 4 feet deep on high tide, 5 feet deep maybe, they'd be sticking out and they would, I don't know. If you had the intertidal berms, then you'd have a berm, which is, like I said, it's essentially a spoil bank with vegetation on it. It looks nice, both sides. If you have the one-sided cell, then you have on one side if you're out there on the water looking back at the island, you're going to have a concrete wall. On the back side, looking out towards the bay, you're going to have a greener, more aesthetically looking thing. But my question with that is, what happens if we start creating currents back here and we start eroding away some of that area? But
The intertidal berm that was shown there, that one would have vegetation on all sides?
yes,
That one would be the most aesthetically pleasing, I think, of
it would look the most natural. Obviously it's not
Most
natural,
natural.
but yeah, in my opinion, anyway.
We are going to have, Christina brought up a good point, but we're going to have full modeling of whatever designs we do pick, so you'll be able to see the sediment either washing out or how it performs in different wave action categories. That's all what's going to be coming up with the next phases of design.
Well, then I think I would also like to see the intertidal berm and the living shoreline, the one-sided, see some more information on those two.
Is this, the intertidal berm, is that strictly oyster shells?
It can be any material.
So here you go. Here are your two examples up on your screen. So it can be just oyster breakwater. We have seen them do things like this, especially up towards Rockport and Corpus, where it does capture sediment over time and plants do grow on it. Or it can be completely a clay berm over on Dollar Bay on the right-hand side. It, like Rob said, it can be any material, really, that's approved.
Where is that Dollar Bay?
In Texas. I'm not 100% sure where it is.
It's up near Bay City.
Bay City.
But I actually think they put these berms in because they were losing a lot of wetland and marshland habitat loss. You can kind of see the erosion on their bay side in that photo. And they're protecting the channel or levee that's running behind it.
And the road.
Do you know if it was effective for them? Did it work?
Most intertidal berm projects we've seen have had pretty high success rates.
It is successful.
Why doesn't the sand get washed away?
I think it, just like our dunes, they redeposit themselves, naturally catching, even after a storm surge. Once there's a structure there, it has something to adhere to.
Well, you also have, so on the left, you have oysters shells, which is, I wouldn't go with that, but that's not going to get eroded away very quickly, and clay does not erode as fast as sand does. So we would have to look at the material, and I think that's for the engineers to come back and look at us and say, you know, these are the best materials that we can use to make this project last as long as it possibly can. I'm kind of with everyone else. I was like, I'd like to see how much it costs on both things first, because we do want to do this along the entire bay. I mean, if this first one's going to be, it's going to bust our budget for 1 year, then we got some issues we got to deal with as far as getting financing for it. Because we also have other stuff to worry about as well, you know, especially on the beach side with beach nourishment, so.
I like the intertidal berm. Best of the options as far as the looks go.
I like that also.
Me too.
I mean, it's not much different than what you see during summertime when you have super low tides during spring tides, you know, super low,
Natural.
you know, with those, you know, the higher parts of the bay being exposed. So it kind of fits into the aesthetic of the area, but it's up to you guys. So you know, I put in my vote, so.
I've seen oyster shell banks, reefs up towards Corpus Christi where I used to fish for decades. And we would pull up, ease up the boat and would fish and walk down. I've seen them last for decades with no maintenance or, you know, re-nourishment at all.
Yeah, and just hardy plants to put on there. You know, our mangroves thrive down here, and if those start growing, they're going to make their own little islands.
Growing shells, oyster shells?
Oh, well, they would definitely shell in the clay berms and
Yeah,
things
the clay
like
berms,
that.
yeah. I think, so our primary purpose today is to decide on two different things, then come back with us with what material I think works in both areas and what the cost is going to be. Correct? Okay. All right.
So I'll make a motion that we recommend that they come back with the intertidal berm and the
And the one-sided containment cell.
one-sided containment cell.
Seconds? Okay, second. Okay, any other discussion? Any other concerns? I mean, we're definitely more than a year out from doing this, so, I mean,
Time.
this isn't gonna be happening tomorrow, so, but we need to give direction to the the engineers for sure, so we can move forward. All right, I guess if there's no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, all opposed? All right, okay. And my stupid computer went off. Oh, no, I can't see it. All right. All right, 4.3, updates on department projects. Coastal Management Program, CMP Cycle 24, CMP Cycle 25, CMP Cycle 26, Marisol Boat Ramp, Restore Act, and Texas Parks and Wildlife Department grants, Wind and Water Sports Venue, Tompkins Channel, Regional Sediment Management Plan, the entire smorgasbord. Here we go. Christine, it's yours.
Can we pull out the PowerPoint, please?
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay, so we will start with CMP Cycle 24. This one, we had a couple under this cycle. The first one is the updated beach and dune study. So Integral is currently working on the final report. I believe it's finalized. They're just routing it through their approval system. So that we should actually receive that within the next 2 weeks, the final report, and we'll get that out to you guys as soon as we get it. Our next one is our Dune Restoration one, which we are so excited about. It has done so well. Right now, we're monitoring it, so we're constantly out there checking it, see how it's doing, and then Coastal Transplants is still performing maintenance on the project, so they're replanting plants if needed. We're working on installing signage, and then in the past couple months, we saw a lot of people getting under the single rope that was there. So we actually added a double layer of rope to prevent people from going into the dunes, which is great. And so we do have some pictures from earlier this year, and then some that we took last week.
Yeah, like last week.
So here is the
February.
There's February, the one that's just north of Wanawanas. These are when the plants were still babies out there, and then. Here is just the other day. So this area is still working. This was one of the areas that was actually planted last from all of the other different sites. But it's collecting a lot of sand in this area, which is what we want. Here's the Inverness area, and this one actually has really taken off. So you can see barely how green it is where it was planted. And then just last week, there was another. It's becoming a fully established dune out there, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah, and I don't know if you all remember, but after 2020, when we had all those storms come in, Inverness had no dunes at all. So this is all completely grown back, which is great.
A lot of years they were living like that. I guess this rain we've had, it really helps out.
Yes, that's helped too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and this area is good.
This one is just north of Inverness, and this is another really great area. Not only has the vegetation really come in, but this is actually an area where the sand has accumulated and completely, like the beach in this area has grown in elevation since the start of the project.
Somebody had a little cocktail lounge out there on the. Did you see that?
Nope.
So BMR is also looking really great. I know that last time we looked at it, we showed you some different versions of Bahia Mars dunes growing out. They're also getting this awesome forward growth. We actually had someone from the GLO come by, our head of their beach and dune team, and they were just shocked on how great the sand fencing and plantings are doing, because it doesn't do well on most of the Texas coast, but I think due to our high winds, we're seeing a really beneficial use of this kind of restoration.
Tiki was another area where there was no dunes before this project, that they got completely washed out in the 2020 hurricane season, and you can see it's really coming back.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, it looks more vegetated and more elevated when you're there on the beachfront looking at it than it does in these pictures.
I've checked them all out. They're outstanding job, guys.
We really like it, and we're excited to hopefully keep doing this down the shoreline and keep doing renourishments or restorations this way.
Because not only is it growing our dunes, but it's actually growing our beach by capturing all that wind-driven sand that would otherwise go away. So we're very excited. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can I ask, how are you, what methods are you using to measure the amount of beach that is growing from the sand dune fences?
So we've been taking a lot of drone pictures, as you can see. Our one drone, it's actually older. We've done one. I have to upload it, but it's an older drone. I'm scared. I'm kind of scared to fly it now. But we're hoping to get another one where we can actually map a specific area one day, and then we can go the next week and remap it, and you can overlay. So we have maps of the beach prior to the restoration where and it also gives you the elevation, and then we can map it after the restoration, and you can see the difference in there. So that's something we're trying to work on doing.
Yeah, we'll be able to pull the whole volume from.
To have that documented and because you also, I'm sure you have to take in, if it's able to document the elevation, and that'll help you be able to factor the seasonal tides, because obviously we have higher tides, so when you're measuring how much beach we've grown, the drone measurements kind of eliminates the seasonal aspect of it. It's able to give you real measurements.
Yes.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's nice. It'll give you that height differential versus just a profile that we're
Yeah.
normally used to.
Right, okay, cool.
Yeah.
What is this structure we're seeing below the window there? It's a kite?
Yeah, it's
Below their drone. It's not actually on the dunes. It's just
it's in the air.
There you go. It's a kite up in the air. Oh, I see.
Yeah. All right, so cycle 25 is our Whitecap Circle improvements. We are so excited about this. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Last city council meeting, they approved us to begin negotiations with the highest qualified bidder, which was Bryant Industrial Services. So we've been actually working with them. And then, so after talking with them with product availability, we're hoping for a July 1 start date. So we're super excited about this project. It's moving along. Cycle 26, this is Sea Island, and so we're working with LJA Engineering on the designs of this. So they're still working on final designs for this project, which will include amenity improvements at this one, including restrooms, rinse stations, that sort of
Change
thing.
rooms, all that fun stuff.
we met Stays Row, right? Because that's kind of a cool trail.
There's not going to be a walkover at this area for a while because we're going to spend a lot of money on another one. So the natural trail is staying. So it's a nice one. But one day there will be a walkover. Okay, restore.
So we are, as of last week, I think the Treasury finally finished their review appraisal. So we've been working with the TCEQ for reimbursement on land. We're also through Texas Parks and Wildlife grant have been working on the design for this boat ramp. And so right now we're just working through the designs between staff, engineers, adjacent property owners to make sure that this is moving forwards.
Same thing, but Texas Parks. Okay.
Wind and Water Sport Park, we're still working through the core process. I gave a very detailed update at the 4/20 City Council meeting. If anyone missed it, I documented everything we've been through up to this point. So right now we're still working through that process. Actually going to talk about it tomorrow at council for additional. We have some Hanson's work, there's going to be additional work related with our biological assessment and our 404 permit with the Corps. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. So we're still trucking along with that one too.
Does that seem pretty likely?
We're getting there.
You got past that, what the objections were with the Corps, I guess?
We're still working with them. Yes. Tompkins Channel, HDR is, we got Army Corps permit at the end of April. And so HDR is just working on dredging documents, surveys, geotech work, that sort of thing. So that one's also moving along. Regional Sediment Management Plan. This has kind of been going on in the background. The Corps has been doing a lot of modeling, a lot of different work. We worked with the Corps, Cameron County through their Planning Assistance to States program. They gave a presentation to us last week, I think, on what they've been doing so far and what they've found. Super interesting. And they'll actually be giving a presentation at the city council meeting, the second meeting in June 22nd. They'll be virtual. So
And I highly suggest either coming or tuning in to watch
Yes.
it because that presentation
there.
is very nice.
yeah, it's a great presentation. So highly recommend. And that's our project update.
All righty. Thank you very much. Any comments? Any questions about any of this stuff, guys? Girls? Ladies? Men? All right, then we move on to number 5, adjourn.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Guys on one side, girls on the other.
Okay, let me send you my little pics.